you were part of the blue ribbon panel of experts that voted on the all-time team that's going to be announced later on this fall. What was your criteria? Did you have any, or you saw somebody, you just knew that person was going to make your team? How did you go about that?
Well, that's a good question because, first of all, I was kind of blown away why I prefaced a lot of my statements when we had our meetings and the conference calls that, here's Bill Belichick and Don Shula, and I can go on Gil Brandt. I mean, I could mention all the names, and then here I am. It's like, what am I doing here? But that being said, to me, my criteria, it's kind of like voting, Rich, for an MVP. There is no absolute rule if you're voting for player of the. In other words, what I'm trying to say is MVP. It's not an exact science. So, did you win the batting title? That's baseball, of course. Did you how many home runs did you have, et cetera, or how many yards rushing did you have? But was your team 7-9? So therefore, am I still voting for this guy as MVP, even though his team missed the playoff? So by saying that, I'm a history guy. Now, that doesn't mean I bent over backwards for it, but a couple of the founders, like the Red Grange, even Jim Thorpe, I gave them more weight, because I don't think we're having this meeting or this unveiling of the team or et cetera if those guys didn't do what they did. So was Jim Thorpe in his limited playing days as good as Emmitt Smith? I mean, no. But in a few cases, I weighed history, not that many, but a few. I thought that was important because I didn't think everybody would do it that way. I will say this, and if you do it yourself, I mean, I don't want to bore everybody with the correct. We all voted for a certain number of. Nobody's ranked. We should say it. When this team comes out, which I don't know who's on it.
Right.
That they would have to get rid of me if I said, and I don't know. So if we voted for, I think it was maybe 18 quarterbacks first time through. All right, but in the end, I think it was 10.
Yep.
Not ranked, but just 10. It doesn't matter. Well, in every position, and you can do it yourself, Rich, when you're off air, and maybe you have, I was very quickly realized that about 2/3 or 3/4, so let's say 7 or 8 of the 10 quarterbacks were, you can't, they're on. And that left like 7 guys for 2 spots in that particular area. And I forget if we were 10 or 12 running backs at this time. But it was the same thing that about 2/3 to 3/4 were, like really, when we discuss wide receivers, I don't think we discussed Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
Right. Why would you? There it is. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
The 7 for the last 3 spots were agonizing. It was fun in retrospect, but I had to play the coach and cut a few of these guys.
I know.
It was awful. So I weighed a little bit of history when I could, and certainly looked at stats and longevity and other things, but there was everyone's criteria was, I think, their own. Yours might be a little different than mine. Were you a voter on it, And I was honored to do it. We also did the coaches, and again, I think, what did we pick, 10 coaches?
Yep.
And 2/3 of them they're on, or 3/4, and now you've got 7 for 2. It was really fascinating and a fun way to look back at the greats whose busts are in Canton, and a few, I might add, that aren't in there that I may have put on, although they're just a few. Most are in there, but not all. So, and I don't know how everyone else felt. If they're not in the Hall of Fame, well, then who am I to consider them?
Right.
That may have been a criteria. It is, but not a unbelievably defining one for me. that sort of thing. Boy, it was fun, I got to tell you, but we spent a lot of time over it.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.